Wow. What's going on out there, YouTube? This is SCL0320. I am back again for a TV review. This time around for the show Arrow. It is in its third season, mid-season finale, episode 9. Wow. I am in complete shock. Me and Joe watched this together. Joe had to bow out of doing this review with me. It's just, it was crazy. It was really crazy. The episode name for this one is, let me get it for y'all. I believe it was Roz, but I think it's a different name. But the thing about this episode, y'all, that blows my mind, it was The Climb. That's the name of the episode, because in the beginning of the episode, it starts off with a flashback, or not flashback, it's the present. But then they go flashback to 48 hours before this happens, and you see Oliver Queen climbing what seems to be a mountain. And I was like, instantly I was brought back to Batman Begins. And I was like, Oliver's barely making up the mountain, and it's really interesting to watch him do the climb. And then it goes and fast forwards back to 48 hours before, and you see like Oliver and everybody kind of going on with the storylines that are going. There's so many different arcs in this episode. I don't know if that deflates the episode or not, but I know it finished on a great ending. But the thing that I'll say is that there's storylines between Ray Palmer and Felicity that goes into more character reproduction, because you find out what Ray Palmer is really up to in this episode, and he really shares a lot with Felicity in addition to what happened with the kiss. And because I know that we've been looking at these different episodes with The Flash and Arrow, like they never really dealt with the fact that, okay, Felicity kissed Ray Palmer, what does she really feel about him? Even though we know she loves Oliver, that she's starting to really have feelings for Ray. And so, of course, we know that Ray, it seems like he's geared towards catering to Felicity in any way possible, making her a part of the company. But what is his intentions? You get to find that out in this episode, which is really interesting. And the suit that they kind of like teased about, which we all know him to be the Atom eventually, that comes into play in this episode as well. But like I said, so many different storylines. I mean, they go into a little bit of Laurel Lance's situation with Sara, because everything that happens, this is all about the death of Sara. Because Sara was a part of the League of Shadows, Ra's al Ghul, because she was a part of the family and his daughter loved her, like, it's not vengeance upon the fact that she's dead, it's the fact that there's a defiance thing that happened and somebody's to blame. And like, there's a certain time frame that Oliver has to find out who it was. He's been trying to find out this whole entire season, and you will find out who did it. And who did it, you will never guess who did it. It's really interesting how they played it out that way. I feel like, though, with the part about Laurel, I felt like it didn't make sense to the episode, that they could have focused more on certain action elements and whatnot, versus reiterating, okay, we know that Laurel Lance is going to try to go into the realm of trying to be the Black Canary, try to avenge her sister and everything, and then it brings in Laurel's mom into this one while she's still trying to keep it a secret from her dad. And I mean, I understand the need to try to keep something like this a secret from your dad because you don't want him to have a heart attack, or, you know, but at the same time, the more you wait, the more crushed he's gonna be. Eventually he's gonna find out, you know. And I mean, I've always been a big advocate of like keeping secrets like that. It doesn't work well. It doesn't bode well in the long term, and it's gonna come out in a worse way versus you just telling the person, okay, this is what's seriously the situation. And now that it's a lot that goes on with that story arc, but I feel like they could have saved that for another time. I feel like this didn't have to be resolved in this episode, because the thing is, you got the Ray and Felicity, you got that storyline, you got the obvious, which is find out who killed Laurel, I mean not Laurel, but Sara. And Oliver now, he gets, in the beginning of the episode, he gets abducted. And he gets abducted by the League of Shadows that tell him, they give him a proposition of that he has to find out who killed Sara, or else this is going to happen. And it's really reminiscent of what happened with the Batman Begins, the cleansing of Gotham, so to speak. And it's really interesting how the stakes are so high at a certain quick point, and you'll see why. Now, one of the things I loved about this episode was Ra's al Ghul himself. I know that Liam Neeson, whether y'all know it or not, he was supposed to actually reprise the role of Ra's al Ghul in this, so this would have been awesome. But they decided to go with another person, and he did not disappoint. Like, the dude has some serious skills. The last episode, last movie I've seen him in, I think was in Riddick. I forgot the role that he played, but he does a really good job as Ra's al Ghul, and it's Matt Nable. He does a really good job, and the fight sequences and the way that he moves, it's like, okay, this is the man that considered Batman his equal, and you can see it. You can see it. But as I said, this whole thing with Ra's should have been the centerpiece. I mean, yeah, go back and tell the story with the normal flashback. Every episode of Arrows always has that flashback going back and forth. I feel like the flashbacks are getting kind of like convoluted, going too deep, and like, okay, get back to the island, you know what I'm saying? But I understand why they had to do that, and that made sense into this. I mean, the Ray Palmer resolve, that made sense to this. But the Laurel Lance part, I felt like it was like dragging the story longer than it should when you've already got like so much more, because I mean, Thea is a big part of this episode as well, and some revelations that Oliver didn't know about in relation to Malcolm Merlin and Thea get revealed in this as well. And so it's just, it all comes to a climactic end that nobody, I promise you, will guess. Like, it's just epic. The final fight sequence is between Ra's al Ghul and Arrow, and we all know that Oliver is not yet the Green Arrow. And so, I mean, I felt like both the Flash and Arrow went up against more than just their equals, like people that they were not prepared to take on different levels, mentally and on physical levels, depending on which show you're talking about. But gosh, I'm gonna have to do a spoiler review for both Flash and Arrow, just because so much happened, especially towards the end for both of these episodes, for both of these series. But one of the things I do love is that even though they tried to go and talk about Ray Palmer and Felicity, they break it back full circle when Felicity has a conversation with Oliver in relation to her trying to figure out, or Oliver trying to figure out what he can do to save the city. And like, she tells him, like, look, you're a different man. You're a man of love, and the thing that you're trying to protect is going to require you to revert back to being a killer again. And he tells her, he's like, one thing I know now is what our focal point is, and the second thing that I know now is for sure is that I love you. And I was like, oh snap, this is so, it's such an interesting, epic moment that even in spite of everything that's going on with Felicity, like her going back and forth between Barry and Ray, like, you can tell that, like, Oliver needs Felicity. He needs her, and she needs him. She really does. It's just, he's gonna have to get to a point of accepting that good things can be for him, you know? And I mean, I think even with the Ray Palmer side of this whole entire thing, like, I feel like it's a reproduction of what happened with Oliver, but it's not gonna have the same results. But it's really interesting TV to watch. I think this episode was not one of his best, just because, like I said, the Laurel Lance, like, story arc, it didn't fit. I felt like it was shoved in there where I felt like it didn't need to be there, you know. And on top of that, because of that, like, because Sara being the whole epicenter of all of it, I felt like it was pulled away because of it. But I give the episode an 8.5 out of 10 just because of the way that this ended. This mid-season finale was probably, it felt like a finale of a series. It's just, things weren't put together as quickly as I would like them to. It felt like the last 15 minutes were just, wow, you know. So definitely go and check out Arrow on Hulu Plus tomorrow. Or even if you have, like, I guess Xfinity, you should be able to watch it that way. But yeah, it was pretty epic. It's sad that I gotta wait till January and February for these different shows. But yeah, look for me to do a lot more spoiler reviews as well for the past few episodes that have kind of come out. I'm going to probably release those on either Saturday or Sunday, so definitely look out for that. Hopefully you enjoyed my review of the Arrow episode, The Climb. And please leave your comments below, but please don't put any spoilers if you can. I know I want to talk about the spoilers. The spoilers, like the things that kind of come up, I really want to talk about, but I'm not going to, just because I want to respect for anybody that hasn't seen it. So please be really gentle with the comment section below. And definitely subscribe. I really appreciate everybody that kind of subscribed the past week. It's been amazing. I really appreciate all the love, all the comments, and anything that y'all recommend for me to maybe review or talk about open discussion wise, please let me know. I would love to go into it. Me and Joe maybe would go into something else. So yeah, definitely. This is SCL0320 signing out. The Arrow, Oliver, what happened? Whew, I cannot wait to do a spoiler review for that. Later everybody. Deuces.